It is time for your favorite Android podcast from the crew of blindandroidusers.com. Kick back, relax, and enjoy another fine episode from these Google fanboys and gals as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here are your hosts. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 63 of the Blind Android Users Podcast. We're recording today on Saturday, February the 19th, 2022. I'm Warren Carr, and joining me across the seas and land are my co-hosts, Fee Dunn from the UK, Austin Pinto from Mumbai, Doc Cameron from Canada. And today we have a guest, Mike B. from New York, who will be talking about his Android journey story. As you can tell, Ed is not with us here today. He got blown away by that horrible London hurricane. Just kidding. Ed got delayed on his trip back from Edinburgh and wouldn't be with us here today, but will be back next week. Coming up in this episode, we have announcements by Austin as always. Then up next, we have the Android Basics segment, and today we're talking about an entry within the system settings that talks about apps, defaults, recently used apps, and so forth. Next, I demonstrate an app called Shortwave. That is followed by highlights from Talkback. And we close the episode with Mike B talking to us about his Android journey story. Welcome to episode 63. Fee, what's going on with you?
Well, the wind was trying to blow us all away yesterday, so I didn't go out anywhere. The wheelie bins, these big wheelie bins you have outside, they were all having a big party and dancing about outside, so it was all quite exciting. It's calmed down now, thank goodness. It's a good job we weren't recording yesterday because it might have ended up with some interesting background sounds. Yeah, so things are good here, even though the weather's a bit meh. But yeah, other than that, yeah, not bad, thanks.
Austin, what's going on in Mumbai?
Mumbai, nothing is going on. Today we celebrated a nice holiday. It was Shiv Jayanti today. It was the birth of our greatest leader of Maharashtra, which is the state which I stay in and which Mumbai is. So if anyone is from Mumbai listening, happy Shiv Jayanti. Although this episode will not be published on the 19th. But yeah, we celebrated that today. And it's getting slowly warm. My most unfavorite season of the summer is coming slowly on us.
Are you guys having a party or anything?
No, it's just a celebration. There are lots of floats and nice plays and all everything.
And by the way, last week, Austin, I mentioned in the podcast that you got hitched. How did that go?
That was very nice. That was fantastic. Yeah.
And by the way, Austin didn't get hitched. Like I said, we were just joking. And we wanted to call you a funny name, didn't we? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard it. But
What
I'm
was
very
it?
happy that somebody defended and not calling me that name. So
What
very
was the
happy with
name that we wanted to call you?
It was something I forgot now.
Into being.
Oh no.
Beanie Boy. It was
And
Beanie Boy.
I refused to say it.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
So they wouldn't do any clever things with the editing to make out that I'd said it. So I'm still your friend.
Yeah.
Okay, so Doug and I are the bad boys. Doug, what's going on there, man?
Well, if the UK was getting blown yesterday, Canada's getting sucked today. It's friggin' melting, and so it's nice and slippery, slushy, just overall gross up here. So I'm thinking just stick inside, keep where I'm not going to wipe out on the slush and get soaked. So Austin, send me some of the warm stuff, please.
Hey, Mike, how about you? What's going on in your world? What's up there in New York?
Just like the Christmas song says, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, they're not kidding. That's just how it feels today. It's about 22 degrees, but because of the wind, it feels like 6. Little sunshine today, and it's As long as you stay inside the house, you'll be fine. But other than that, it's pretty quiet. We're on winter break here from school. I'm not that far off from you, Warren. I turned the big 50 yesterday.
Oh, what a beautiful thing. Happy birthday, man. So guys, how about a little happy birthday song to our brother? Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday to
to
you.
you.
Happy
Happy birthday
birthday to
to
you.
you.
Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
dear
dear Mike.
Mike. Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
Yeah,
you.
she takes chorus. I can tell.
So happy
Yeah.
birthday to you, Mike. That's half
Yeah.
a century. It's a beautiful number. Yeah.
Yeah.
We now move on to our announcement segment. And Austin, what do we have in store today?
We have some very important and very something to be very proud of, something to be very happy. We got an email 2 days back saying that we are listed as the top 15 most Android listened podcast in 2022, or the best 15 podcasts related to Android in 2022. And the source of this list is FieldSpot blog. And some of the names there, like above us, they're above us, they are like Android Central, now at Android, but we are really proud to have say that we are listed in the top 5. So we are the top 5th most heard podcast in 21 22. So this is all thanks to our listeners, and that is it from the announcements.
That was really nice to see that we're actually up there with the big boys, big names, Android Central and all of those guys. And that we actually, we're in the fifth position, aren't we? I looked it up. Out of that 15, we're listed number 5.
And the best thing is that we are a disability related podcast. And to see our names among all the other podcasts who are only like site related or Android related is really a fantastic thing.
And today, in some of the big launches of our listeners, OnePlus launched the OnePlus Nord CE2, and they have some good specs like the Snapdragon, no, the MediaTek 900. I wish it would have the MediaTek 920, but it has the MediaTek 900. We don't know how many 5G bands it has, but if we compare it to the Infinix, then it should have 13 bands, but different OEMs have different bands. But the phone has Warren's most two favorite features. One is the SD card slot, and one is the headphone jack, 3.5 headphone jack. So it has that. So, and it's Oxygen OS as of now. But the most worst thing is it still comes with Android 11, and it's around $300 for the base variant. So it is 5G MediaTek 900. I wish it was 920, but it has 65-watt super charge, and it's just launched. I don't know if it will be coming to the US or no, but it's launched in India.
Well, Austin, that really sounds good. However, I think that price is a little bit too much, isn't it? So it's running Dimensity MediaTek 900, right? It's not a 920,
Yeah, it's a MediaTek Dimensity 900.
900. So what is that comparable to on the Qualcomm side of things? Are we talking like um, 865, or are we talking about like the
It's comparable to
765,
878 or something.
878?
Yeah.
Well, that's mighty good. Well, at $300, I don't know if it's going to be $300. So it's like 299 pounds. And I think that's closer to $400. And, that's what I'm thinking. But at least there's a choice there, most especially with an SD card. Maybe this is the first time I'll get a OnePlus to say that I have a OnePlus phone. Let's now move on to our next segment. And this is our Android Basics segment. And today we're talking about an item in the system settings, apps, defaults, recents, and all of that. This is what I'm talking about.
Connected devices, Bluetooth, apps, assistant, recent apps, default apps.
That's the area we're talking about today. So when you come to your system settings and you get to this area where we see apps, default apps and all of that. It's a great area to manage your phone, whether you want to manage some app you're having difficulty with, or whatever the case is. Sometimes you have an app that is misbehaving and you need to go manage that app. This is the area you come in to manage. And so today we're talking about this app area where we have all kinds of stuff. Austin, you have any comments about this before we move on to what we do here?
Showing items 1.
I think this is one of the setting that is the most important when you get a new phone, when you want to set up things more granular. This is the most important settings, and also we won't be able to finish all the settings in this category in one episode. So we will split this up into 2 or 3 or even maybe 4 episodes.
And I do think it's kind of important to note too that it is going to depend on what your phone as to how your apps menu is laid out within the settings. Because with my Samsung, we do see a different layout than we will with Warren's Pixel. So your apps are still going to be found in your main settings menu. However, once you're in there, your layout is going to be much different. So you're going to have, instead of having a recent app section, you just straight up have your apps, and then it gives a granular list of all of the applications loaded onto your phone. Above that, you actually have a default apps section and a Samsung apps section. So nowhere in this list are you going to find the recently used. The only way to access the recent apps is from your recent apps menu. So whether you're using the 3-button navigation button configuration or the swipe up and hold, that's the only place you're going to find your recent apps.
I see. That's interesting because on a Pixel phone, here, as you could hear, there's apps, there's defaults in there, and in that default area, also there's the assistant and then the recently used apps. So when I go into that, I am now in that folder, and
Google 3 minutes ago.
see, I used Google like 3 minutes ago.
Chrome 47 minutes ago.
So that's how it is laid out on the Pixel phone. So your most recently used apps, the last used apps are shown at the very top of this page. And then if you go down, then we have things like
see all 353 apps.
You could see all 300, or whatever number of apps you have. I got over 300 apps. Then we have
General heading.
Under General, we got
Default apps.
Default apps,
Game settings.
Game settings.
Assistant. Screen time 7 minutes today.
And then it tells you how long you've been on your phone, for the day and things like that. So if you come in here, you could go in and actually manage an app that you're having a problem with, and you could go and tap on the one that says X number of apps. And that's the one we're going to be talking about today. But since I already have one of my recent apps showing here, I'm going to tap on one of those.
Chrome 47 minutes ago. App info. Navigate up button up.
So if I were having a problem with my Chrome and I come here and I want to do something about it, and so I tap on that and it places you now on the app info. And so it's just exactly the same idea. Like if you are in the recent apps, if you want to see the app info, or you want to close the app, when you go to that recent apps, you could do the same thing. But so here you could do anything and manage your app here, including battery and all of that. So we're talking about managing your app here. So I am here in Chrome, and let's say I have a problem with Chrome.
Disable
and I want
button
to, manage it. This is what I will do. So I have things starting from the top here,
app info out of list.
and then I have
Open button.
I have open.
Disable button.
You could choose to disable an app.
Force stop button.
For stop it.
Notifications. ~0 notifications per week.
This is the area of notification, and here you could go in and do the notifications and manage all of that. But we're not going to talk about notifications today. That's going to be in its own category in sounds and notification.
Permissions. Location.
So here, if you're having problem with permissions and locations, here's where you go and fix that.
Storage and cache. 203 MB used in internal storage.
We have over 200 something MB, and you can go in here and clear both the cache and the storage. I show you what I'm talking
Storage
about.
and cache. 200. Storage. Navigate up.
We
button.
got
Clear cache. Button.
clear
List.
cache on the right, and then
Manage space. Button.
manage space. You hear this one doesn't say clear storage. In some other apps, you will hear clear storage, but things like Google and Chrome, instead of hearing clear storage, you're going to hear manage space. If I tap here,
Google Chrome storage. Store data that Chrome doesn't think is important, e.g. sites with no saved settings, or that you don't visit often, out of list.
and in here, you choose what you want to do. You could either clear,
Free up space. Button.
free up the space, or you could,
Manage. Button.
and the third one would be
To clear all data. Button.
clear all data. So if you tap on the clear all data, you are basically clearing everything on your Chrome browser, meaning the passwords and things like that. You'd be clearing all of that. And so it's a little bit different. If it were a regular app, like I said, it will all be simply clear storage. But if you're managing Google or Chrome, those have these options where you could do that. The next item we have
App size 31.08 MB. Space used. Heading.
okay, so under space use,
User data 72.77 MB.
those my data,
Cache 99.22 MB. Total 203 MB.
and that's the total of what it has. Let's
Storage.
go back and see what else we
Showing
have
items
here.
1 to 10. Mobile data and Wi-Fi. No data used.
Here you could see if it's using your data,
Screen time 1 minute a day.
and
Battery 3% used for past 24 hours.
here is where you can go in and do the battery management. For instance, if you want to kind of limit how much battery this app takes, this is where you go in and manage that. If I tap here, for example, and I think we have had an entry on how you manage your battery. So if you need to refer to that, we do have that on our YouTube channel.
Browser app. Yes.
And then here we have an item says browser app. Yes. In other words, can this be used as a browser? So if you don't want to use it as a browser, you tap here. Let's see what it says.
Default browser app. Navigate up. Button. Up.
You tap there, you could change it from being your default to something else.
Default browser app. Navigate up. Radio button. Not selected. DuckDuckGo and list.
So here, if you want to change to something else, I got DuckDuckGo.
Radio button. Selected. Chrome.
I got Chrome.
Radio button. Not selected. Brave.
Brave.
Radio button. Not selected. Eyes free reader.
So some of your apps would also be here, most especially those that can open, links and things like that will also be here. That's
unused apps. Heading.
And then
showing items
under unused apps
screen time
and all of that. Now let's see what next.
Showing browser app. Yes.
So we say browser app. Yes.
Unused apps. Heading.
And under unused apps,
remove permissions and free up space. Switch on.
So if you have that remove permissions and free up space, that is checked by default. If you turn this off, then it means when you go into that area we saw earlier up there, it may not be there. But you need this one on so that if you need to be able to manage it, you should be able to manage it.
Advanced heading.
And then we have the advanced.
Picture in picture allowed.
So picture in picture, in other words, if you wanted to be able to show in one part of the screen while you're doing something else, you could have that on. But if you don't want it to be allowed, you could go in here and turn it off.
Install unknown apps, not allowed.
And so if you're downloading something on your Chrome and you want to be able to install something that Chrome has downloaded, you'll have to turn this on so that you'll be able to install that stuff that Chrome has downloaded. Or if you want to install it direct from within Chrome, you have to turn this on or else it will tell you it's not allowed from this location.
Store heading showing item
And
6 to
store basically is talking about where you got the app from. And below here, we'll see that it's gotten from the Google Store.
app details. App installed from Google Play Store.
And then
Version 98.0.4758.101.
this is where you'll see your version. And this is applicable to any app. You'll see that version here at the bottom. And that's the last item here in this segment regarding the Chrome. And this is what we're talking about, managing apps. So from here, you could manage the app in every single way that you could possibly think of. And that is that app management. Guys, any comments about this thing? Because it's a very important topic. Most especially, we want to be able to manage that battery. We want to be able to manage that space. We want to be able to manage the installation of apps directly from that app and things like that.
Actually, I do gotta say, I realized that I was completely wrong with regards to how my Samsung app section is set up. You actually can sort the apps that it shows by default. There is a sort or filter button that I've never noticed before to the immediate right side of the heading that says your apps. So you can actually sort from apps that are enabled, disabled, or recent, used within the last month, week, etc. So they've just completely rearranged how it is or where you can find it. But if you're not looking, you can very easily miss the sort filter button.
Manufacturers rearrange these things to their own liking, and Samsung has a different arrangement from what the Pixel phones have. And one could be having like a Xiaomi device or whatever device. It may be also different. So that's the problem when we do not have all the phones out there in the world. It makes it virtually impossible to really hit every one's device. But basically, if you have a regular stock device, and a phone that runs a stock device, let's say like your Nokia's, Motorola phones, Sony phones, and a lot of those, the UI will be the same as having it on the Pixel phone. So that's the only difference here.
Something really important is the permissions section, I think, because some apps track things which really you don't necessarily want them to. For example, you might have an app that switches the phone to silent when you're at church or something. So your phone would need to know where you are in order for that to work properly. But there might be another app where it really shouldn't be getting your location, but it is. And you think, well, why do they want that? And what are they using it for? And some of these things you can turn off in the permissions. And I think it's important to know about that, because things like that, extra data sharing, as well as giving away more information than you might want to, could be using up more battery power as well.
Exactly, Fee, and most especially if you tap on that permissions, we saw the permissions in here. This is where you can check what permissions it has, whether location, because just about every app has a location to it, and you could turn that off if it's using a location, or if you wanted to access your files or you wanted to access your storage and things like that, you go into that permissions and you'll see under the permissions there are things that are allowed, and under a heading of not allowed, you're going to see the things that are not allowed. And if in that heading of not allowed you have something that you wanted to access, you could turn it on right from there. And so, yes, this is a very important area. Like I said, very important part of the app management. Here's where everything lies. And you go in here and make those fine adjustments as you would like it to, so you be in control rather than the app being in control. There are so many things in that permissions. And so, again, go into the permissions and manage the things that you would like it to have access to and things that you wouldn't want it to have an access to. So all apps have that permissions. It's very important, from storage to microphone, camera, and all of that. Each and every app has those. And so deny those that you don't want it to have access to. Let's move on now to our next segment, and that will be the app of the week. In the app of the week, I am demonstrating an app called Shortwave. Here is Shortwave. Hi, for episode 63 app of the week, I am demonstrating an app called Shortwave. No, I am not talking about that old radio of yours, that shortwave radio. Instead, I'm talking about an email client from ex-Googlers. The app reminds me so much of the good old inbox, and no wonder it's coming from ex-Googlers. Those are the ones behind Shortwave. For today's demonstration, I am using my Pixel 6 running the first preview of Android 13 with Talkback 12.1. And for speech services, I will be utilizing the defunct Eloquence by Code Factory. I would like to mention here from the offset that this app is not very accessible. Some things are not labeled, and unless you're using earcons, you wouldn't even know that they are there. So it is important that they hear from us at this early stage access, so that by the time it reaches the public beta stage, things could be improved for us with respect to accessibility. And hence the reason I would like you to try it and send them a feedback. There is a little bit of a process in how you go about getting the app. The first step would be to sign up on their Google Groups, and then next you'll download the app from the Play Store, and the third stage would be to sign in using your Google account. I will now take you through the steps so that you know what I'm talking about. I have created an icon or a shortcut to the web page on my home screen, so I'll show you how you go about that. I call it Shortwave Email Client.
Shortwave email client app.
I will tap here.
Progress bar 5%, 70%. Shortwave. Chrome.
Upon opening this web page, we find the following.
Actually enjoy your inbox.
It says, are you actually enjoying your inbox?
Email smarter and faster with a reinvented experience for your Gmail. Sign in with Gmail.
Then there's a sign in with Gmail below that, and below that,
Download.
there's download,
Available on
and it says available on.
desktop.
It's on desktop, Android, Fruitvale, and that's you guys on iOS.
Comma. iOS. And Android.
And those are the platforms that's available on. But here's a little snippet about what the whole thing is about.
Shortwave web application screenshot.
And I'm just going to triple tap here to read from here.
Getting description. Why shortwave? Let's face it, your email isn't working for you. You're overwhelmed by a constant barrage of messages and tired of the never-ending struggle to clean up a confusing mess. Shortwave brings order to the chaos. We've completely redesigned email from the ground up so you can stay calm, focused, and in control. Getting description. Getting description. Understand your inbox at a glance. Threads are automatically categorized and bundled together to keep you organized by default. Want to customize things? Reorganize with drag and drop or use notification settings to control what enters your inbox. Use the sidebar to quickly see new messages, access drafts, or view your full conversation history with your contacts. Image of person resting with legs on the table. Getting description. Pin, snooze, done. Enjoy a workflow that actually works. Have an important email? Pin it. Want to handle it later? Snooze it. Everything else you can mark. Done. With one click. Image of sticky notes. Getting description. Work targeter. Create channels to keep your team on topic and make past conversations searchable. Instant delivery, typing indicators, and emoji reactions. Make conversations with other shortwave users come to life. Use mentions to notify the right people when you need them to join in. Image of people standing around a floating thread screenshot.
I tap to stop here. but you got the gist. Now, here's how you go about getting it for Android, since we're talking about Android. So the first thing we want to do is tap where it says download.
Download. Link. Progress bar 5%. Web view 70%. Text. Actually enjoy your inbox email smarter and faster with a reinvented experience for your Gmail sign-in with Gmail download available on desktop, iOS, and Android. Beta. Snooze 9 last 7 days done workspaces Fern Medina 954.
All right, I stopped it.
Desktop. Heading 3. Add shortwave to your dock by installing the Progressive Web app, PWA, on browsers like Chrome, Edge, and Brave. Just hit the download icon in the URL bar to get started.
And that will be for your desktop. And then there's
View instructions.
View instructions. Next.
Mobile app. Graphic.
Now under the mobile app, we got
EOS. Heading 3.
that's your Fruitvale.
Use shortwave on the go with our EOS app. All the benefits of shortwave, but on your phone.
All right.
EOS app QR code. Graphic.
And you could scan the QR code. Now let's go to Android. That's the one we're most interested in, right?
Android beta. Heading 2. Join our private distribution list to gain early access to our work-in-progress Android app. View instructions.
And now let's tap on the View instructions.
View instructions. Progress bar 5%. Download Android.
So here we are on the instructions on how you go about getting the Android version. The first thing would be to first join that Google group, like I said earlier on, and that's step 1.
Beta access. Heading 4. Join our private distribution list as we work on our Android app. Currently only supports Android 11 or newer devices.
And here's the first step.
1. Join our Google group. Link.
So you tap here to join that link. I'll show you.
Progress bar 5%. 39%. Shortwave Android. Google Groups. Web view.
This takes you to the Google group for shortwave. Near the top, you're going to find something that says
Shortwave Android. Heading 1.
And to the right of that will be Join Group.
1 of 1.
But because I've already done so, it's not saying that in my case. And after you tap on Join Group, then it takes you through where you could choose the things that you would like to read, whether you want email messages from the group sent to you or not, and things like that. So you check the things that you want, and if you don't want any, you don't have to. You could, and then just tap no email or anything like that. It's all up to you. So be sure to do that before you go back to the previous screen. And now go back to the previous screen.
Progress bar 5%.
After finishing that and you're back to the previous screen, we now go to step 2, and that would be where you tap to go download the app. And here's what step 2 says.
2.
Here's 2.
Download the app. Link.
You tap here and it takes you to the Play Store.
Progress bar 5%. Details for app. Shortwave. Play Store. Open button. Show.
If you did not join the group and you tap on download from the Play Store, you're going to get an app not found. Try again. So you have to complete that first step before going to step 2, which would be the tapping of the download the app. And so now we're in the Play Store, and usually there'll be the install, but because I already have it, I have the open instead. And I'll now tap on the open, and we'll go through a quick overview of shortwave.
Shortwave. Early access. Open button. Shortwave.
I am now in my main inbox. Let me start off by saying that at the top left, all you have is something that says shortwave logo.
Shortwave. Shortwave logo. Link.
And then on the top right corner, we have something that says message avatar.
Message avatar. Graphic.
Tapping on that will take us to where we could see things like settings. Before we come back to it though, let's go explore the whole thing before we come back to the settings. So below that, you'll have your message.
Blind Android users using the Kindle app with Talkback.
There's a thread from blind Android users, and that has to do with using the Kindle app. Now, below that message editor on the top right corner, there's a button just above this message. And remember, it doesn't make sound unless you have an earcon. If I tap on that, it will mark my message as done. Watch.
Shortwave. Web view. Marked thread as done. Undo.
It shows the undo at the bottom, and you have to tap on that real quick or else it's marked as done. So now I do not have any email messages. I'm therefore still in the main UI. Now let's go to the bottom, and there are 3 tabs at the bottom. Starting from the bottom left, that's the default, so that is your inbox. In the middle is your read messages, messages that you've read before, all of your email messages. If I tap here in the middle,
Shortwave.
tap here in the middle,
Shortwave. Web view.
and all of my messages are here. The messages
Conversations.
that I have
Heading
read, and
5,
these are my
N.
conversations.
Message avatar. Shortwave team. Groups.io and Christopher. Giovanni and Groups.io.
So those are some of the messages that I've already read. Now, the last one at the bottom right would be the search. For instance, if I put my finger at the bottom right corner and tap, it takes me to the search field, opening up my keyboard.
Out of. Search text field. Search or navigate. Text. Showing English. US. QWERTY. Keyboard.
So when I touch that bottom part there, it says out of. And when I tapped it, then it takes me to the search field where I could search for the message that I'm after. I'll go back.
Shortwave. Web view.
Now above that button at the bottom right is the compose message.
Button.
If I tap here,
Shortwave. Web view.
and this takes me to where I could compose a new email. If you put your finger down here, your drafts will also be here. In case there's a draft that you started and didn't send out, it will be here as well.
Draft. Heading 3. Your full conversation history will show up here once you add recipients.
And then
2.
we have the to, and there's the to field.
Search text field. 2. Enter a name or email. Text. Enter a name or email.
This is where you type the address or the email address of the person you're trying to send the email to. And below that, we have
CC. Button.
the CC,
BCC. Button.
VCC,
Edit box. Subject. Text. Subject.
and that is your subject field. Below the subject field is your main email body.
New line. Edit box. Text. Message.
That's where you type your email message. And then at the bottom right,
Send. Button. Disabled.
see there's the send button, and that one is labeled. Now on the left bottom corner, we have the attach, and this one doesn't say anything. I'll tap here, you see what I mean. That takes me to the main storage of my phone, and I can choose things from here.
Recent files. Screen 20 million.
Things like that. I'll go back.
Shortwave. Out of list.
Now I'm going to close out of the composition. I'm going to hit the back key.
Shortwave. Web view.
So I'm back in the main UI. Now let's go back to the top where we'll find the shortwave editor, and that tapped on will take us to where we'll find the settings. Move our finger now to the top right corner.
Message avatar. Graphic.
Tap here. Tapping on that pops up a menu on the right side of the phone. And here's the items that we find.
Warren Carr. Link.
Says my name, link, and below that says my email address.
Worker at Gmail.
And then below that, there's the mute conversation or something having to do with mute.
Mute notification.
And below mute notification, we find the following.
Settings.
The settings, Keep going.
Invite a friend.
Invite a friend, and
Sign out. Heading 3.
that's the last item. Let's go back though to the settings because that's important.
Settings. Shortwave. Web view.
Tapping on settings, there are 4 tabs at the top. Starting from the left, we've got General,
General. Link.
then going right, we've got
Billing. Link.
Billing. To the right of that, we've got the Sync,
Gmail sync. Link.
and the last tab there on the right will be
Experiments.
Experiments. Now below all of that, we have categories, and here's what we've got.
Categories. Heading 3.
And we have
Shortwave categorizes your emails to keep your inbox organized by default. You can always customize notification settings for specific senders and groups later. These settings apply to mobile and desktop. Heading 4.
Next, we've got
Teammates. Link. Everyone who shares a workspace or channel with you. Heading 4.
and you could either bundle them,
Bundle individually.
or next we got
Channels. Link.
channels. And here's a short description of the channels.
Shortwave channels are where team collaboration happens.
So under each of those categories, there's a little short explanation of it. Let's move on to the next.
Learn more. Link. Bundle individually.
And the bundle,
Important. Link.
under important.
Anything Gmail marks as important.
All right, and
Learn more.
learn
Link.
more, or
Bundle individually.
you can bundle them individually. Next,
Other people. Link. Anything that doesn't fall into one of the categories below. Heading 4. Bundle individually.
next,
Calendar. Link.
calendar.
Auto-generated emails about calendar events. Heading 4. Bundle together.
Next,
Social. Link.
and
Social networks, media sharing sites, online dating services, and other social websites. Heading 4. Bundle together.
moving my finger down,
Promotions. Link. Newsletters, shopping announcements, and other marketing campaigns. Heading 4.
and
Bundle together. Button.
next,
Updates. Link. Auto-generated confirmations, receipts, bills, and updates from companies and apps. Head. Bundle individually. Button.
next,
Forums. Link. Online groups, discussion boards, and mailing lists. Heading 4. Bundle individually. Button.
next,
Notifications. Heading 3. Available hours. Heading 5. Only allow push notifications within my available hours. Checkbox, not checked.
You could check that and further customize when you would be notified.
Only allow push notifications within my available hours. Capital S, button, disabled.
So that's like Sunday,
Capital M,
Monday.
button, capital T, button.
You got the drift.
080000. Time picker, disabled.
It says disabled because we didn't check that notification customization above. And so it's the beginning. It begins at, you tap here to choose when it begins and when it ends.
2.
2.
170000. Time
And
picker,
let's
disabled.
move to the next.
Sounds and appearance. Heading
Sounds
5.
and appearance.
Play sound when receiving a new notification. Checkbox, checked.
And
Play sound when receiving a new notification.
then
Include a preview of the message for each notification. Checkbox, checked. Include a preview of the message for each notification. Privacy. Heading 3.
we have
Share activity status and typing indicators with other shortwave users. Checkbox, checked.
In other words, by default, if you're chatting with another shortwave user, you will know when he or she is typing. So it combines email and some kind of a instant messaging in a sense.
Mobile. Heading 3.
Under Mobile,
Customize preferences for shortwaves.
you can customize the preferences for the shortwave.
Mobile apps. Link. Reverse swipe directions for inbox actions. Checkbox. Not checked. Reverse swipe directions for inbox actions. Shortwave newsletters. Heading 3. New features. Monthly. Checkbox. Not checked. New features. Monthly. User research. Rarely. Checkbox. Not checked.
And you can choose how you want these things. It's all up to you.
User research. Rarely. Make shortwave your default mail app. Heading 4. Delete account.
And there's a delete account.
Logos provided by Clearbit. Link.
And that's the last item from within the settings. And you can go in and customize it to your liking. But if you do sign up, help us all by sending them feedback so we'll have another accessible email client. And that is Shortwave. As you can see, Shortwave is a good replacement for that defunct inbox, something I really liked back then and Google killed it. And we have a lot of work here in Shortwave as it's not very accessible yet. So I'm looking forward to the guys, these ex-Googlers, to make Shortwave accessible to those of us who are blind, because if it's not, then, we're not going to be able to use this app as effectively as we would like to. Up next, we have the highlights from Talkback. We continue now with our theme of highlights from Talkback. This is installment 25. In our last installment, which was installment 24, I detoured and talked about the spoken language feature. Today, however, I am resuming what we started in installment 23, and that is the one-finger angle gesture. I'll be using my Pixel 6 Pro running the very first developer preview of Android 13 and Talkback 12.1. For speech services this week, I am utilizing the Heather voice from the Acapella group. I am currently on my home screen and will now invoke the Talkback menu, but instead of tapping with 3 fingers to invoke the Talkback menu, I thought that it would be nice to simply use that one-finger angle gesture by drawing a line downward and curving to the right to invoke the Talkback menu. I will now do just that.
Talkback menu. Actions in list.
I am in the Talkback menu, and next I'm tapping on Talkback Settings.
Talkback settings. Talkback settings. Navigate up button. Audit list.
I am in the Talkback Settings. I will now scroll up by putting 2 fingers in the middle of the phone, gliding those fingers upwards, thus scrolling down my page.
Showing items 4 to 15 of 15.
Here, I'm looking for Customized Gestures.
Customize gestures.
Here is Customized Gestures, and I'll tap here.
Customize gestures. Navigate up button. Audit list.
I am now on the gesture customization page. Next, I'm going to change my granularity by swiping up and down to change my granularity to the heading's granularity. By the way, you could either swipe down with 3 fingers from the top or from the left or right to do the same thing. I simply prefer the up and down scrub to change my granularity using 1 finger. I'll now do just that.
Speech rate. Windows. Links. Controls. Headings.
Here's my headings. And now, instead of swiping up and down, I'll simply swipe down 1 at a time till it says 1-finger angle gestures. Here we go.
1 finger. Heading in list.
This is a 1 finger.
1 finger back and forth. Heading.
This is a back and forth.
1 finger angle. Heading. Showing items 9 to 19 of 54. Swipe up then right. Open Talkback menu. showing items 9 to 19 of 54.
Here is how swipe up then right, and that opens the Talkback menu. Now, I'm not sure if I had done this or not, but of course we remember that swiping down and curving to the right opens up the Talkback menu, so it's most likely that we have double of these. You could change this gesture to something else. For example, if I wanted to change this to a tap instead of swiping up and right to invoke the Talkback menu, I'll tap here to go change it, reassign it to a tap.
Swipe up then right. Open Talkback menu, checked, in list. Showing items 33 to 48 of 52.
And here we're looking for the tap. I'll put my finger down.
Tap.
That's the one I want. I tap here.
Customize gestures. Swipe up then right, tap, in list. Showing items 9 to 19 of 54.
What this entails is that if you happen to be one of those that do not like tapping on your phone all the time, then all that you could do when it comes time for tapping on an icon or something, all that needs happen is simply draw that line upward and curving to the right to simulate that tapping motion. I'll show you what I'm talking about by highlighting an icon or folder on my home screen, and instead of tapping, I'll simply swipe up then right to activate that icon or folder. Here's what I'm talking about.
Folder, Google, 4 or more items.
I will now swipe up and curve to the right.
YouTube. Folder opened, 3 by 3.
That opens up my Google folder, and in here we have things like YouTube,
Drive,
Meet,
Home,
Home,
Translate,
and things like that. And that's how you go about reassigning the up right gesture to activate the Talkback menu to something else that you would rather have it do. And that's today's Talkback highlight. And now we come to my most important part of the podcast, and I'm talking about a segment that we haven't heard in quite a while, and it's the My Android Journey story, and our friend Mike B from New York is bringing us his Android Journey story. Mike, we want to welcome you to the Blind Android Users podcast, and thank you so much for taking your time out to come and talk to us about my very favorite segment of the podcast, and that is the My Android Journey story. Mike, you've got the mic.
Okay, Mike, so what was your first Android phone that you ever had?
Actually, I don't know what the name of it was. I just know it was very small. In fact, I actually still have it. And according to the company that I get my service from, they don't make that kind anymore. It was the push button. These very, if you've ever had like the cell phones, like from the 90s, where some of them would have these tiny little buttons.
Oh my God, it was a T9 phone?
Well,
I love those.
I don't know. It just had like, you had like the display on top, and then underneath you have the big menu button in the middle, which was probably the biggest button in the whole set. And then on either side, there were two other buttons, which I have no idea what those did. And then underneath those were the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc.
Okay, so how long ago was that? Do you remember what version of Android that was and how many years ago it was?
It was 2010 when I first started messing with Android.
Oh, okay.
And yeah. And
so do you think it's improved? What phone did you go on to then? Because did that have a touch screen, your first one?
No. Nope.
So did you then go on to a touch screen straight away, or did you have more button phones?
I actually had to go on to a touch screen because the push button one I have was malfunctioning, and for one thing, it didn't even speak, but I was able to use it. but it sort of got where it was acting a little strange. And when I called the company, that's when I found out they don't make those anymore. And so they gave me a Samsung Galaxy J3 Achieved, which I still have. And I had that from 2019 to the present. Last year, towards the end of 2021, I had to upgrade because, as you know, here in the US and probably in the UK and other places, they were taking everyone off of the Sprint network and putting them on the T-Mobile.
No, we don't
'Cause
have
it's-
that here.
Oh,
We don't
okay.
have Sprint.
No.
That's an
wanted
American
to-
thing.
Yeah, they wanted to switch everyone to the T-Mobile to get 5G speed, to speed up everybody. And so as a result of that, I had to upgrade to my Samsung Galaxy S10, which is now what I currently use, and it's a touchscreen as well.
And how is that? How are you getting on with that?
I'm getting along. I'm finding the touchscreen on this one somewhat easier than the other one because I'm used to typing on a physical keyboard. And, when you go to a situation where you have to use touchscreen, it can be very frustrating, even if you have the screen reader, because you're so used to expecting to feel buttons. So
Yeah.
with the other phone I have, the J3 Achieved, when you're swiping in the keyboard, the thing is, if you even touch a letter or swipe a letter or other character, it goes through to the program, which is not necessarily what you might want it. You might not want it doing that, but that's what it did. And then you'd have to find the backspace and start all over. But with the S10 one that I have, you have to kind of scroll around up, down, left, and right with your that finger next to the thumb. I think that's our pointer. And then you find the character that you want. And once you find that, you double tap it. Then from that point on, you can swipe left and right to find the character you want, the letter or the number. And once you find it, you double tap it and then it goes through. So you basically have to very slowly type the phone number or the word or whatever it is you're doing, and then just keep swiping until you get to either a next button or a close button or whatever it offers you.
Have you tried using voice dictation?
I do that too. That's how I send my texts. And when I added my contacts to this phone, I thought I'd have to go through and announce all of them, but I actually didn't have to. I used a program called Smart Switch.
Oh yeah, I used that one too. Yeah.
I think someone on our mailing list, I think it was someone on the mailing list that mentioned to me. Yes, I think it was Warren actually. He mentioned Smart Switch. It was either you or Ed. I don't remember, but someone mentioned about Smart Switch, and I had to install Smart Switch on the old phone. This new one had it already. And I basically just followed some simple instructions, going back and forth from phone to phone, tapping buttons where I needed to, and it transferred my contacts for me. So now, if I wanted to text Austin, for example, if I had his number, I would just tell Lady G. I'm trying to paraphrase so I don't wake her up. I'd say, text Austin or call Austin, and then it would just go through and dial his number automatically, which is, I find it very easy to do because I don't have to fumble with trying to find the right numbers and such. Because if you have to call someone immediately, like if you're in an emergency, you're not going to be thinking about where's this button, where's that button. You're just going to want to call the person immediately. And if you're in a hurry, you might make the mistake and hit the wrong button. So it's always good to have the voice dictation.
Were there any issues you had? Were there things that you remember as being part of the struggle? Were there things that you really struggled with? Or if you were to advise someone who is jumping into Android today, what would your advice be to such a person?
Well, for one thing, I'd recommend joining the Blind Android Users mailing list. You guys can join the list. You can get information about it on blindandroidusers.com. And there's other information there as well. And anyone that you know who has an Android device, and that's what helped me as well. I have a friend who had a phone that was similar to mine, and she was able to assist me in getting Google Assistant set up. And I recorded a demo that explains in detail about that, and you guys hopefully will get to download that soon. Like I said before, the toughest thing you'll probably find about using Android is the touchscreen, because you can't always take a Bluetooth keyboard everywhere you go, and so that's the main real struggle you'll have.
So, well, that's great, Mike. Thank you so much about that and telling us about that Android journey story. And most especially talking about the fact that, if one is starting with Android and needing some help, of course, they can always get hold of us or, our website, and that will give them all that info. And at that, how about now we bring this to a close? And Austin, how do people get hold of our knuckleheads?
For people to locate us, they can email us with their questions or feedback or comments or recording submissions to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. They can browse our website, blindandroidusers.com. Check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/blindandroidusers. Subscribe to our mailing list, Blind Android Users, plus subscribe at groups.io. The links for Telegram and Twitter, Clubhouse will be in the show notes with all the other links. So that is it from us this week.
Thanks, Austin. And that concludes today's episode 63. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Later.
And that has been another episode of the Blind Android Users Podcast. As always, we appreciate hearing from you. You send those email messages to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. For those My Android Journey stories, we encourage you to send those to myandroidjourney@blindandroidusers.com. Until we see you in our next episode, you have a wonderful day.